Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Welcome to today's episode. Another heart-to-heart reflection about something we rarely pause to consider, our personal roadmap. We all know life gets noisy. It can feel chaotic. We are pulled in multiple directions, trying to meet expectations, chase timelines, keep up with people who, by the way, have no business judging us because they aren't even walking our path. And somewhere in that chaos, we forget to ask, where am I actually headed? Not where they think I should be, not where society expects me to be based on my age, my ethnicity, my qualifications, or any other criteria, but where do I, the real, authentic, unadulterated me, want to go? Today we're talking about the power of having a roadmap for your life journey, not like a rigid checklist, and it's not a picture perfect vision board either, but something that's aligned to our soul, that compass that points back to you. Speaking of compass, when you open up the Google Maps without entering that destination, you see that blue dot just sitting there. That's how millions of people feel about their lives right now. Without direction, we end up spinning in place even when we think we're moving forward. We're not. So today we are diving into why having a roadmap for our life journey isn't just helpful, it's essential for creating a meaningful future. And we'll see exactly how to create one that's customized for you. So when we open up a maps, life map, what should you enter as the destination? We've been so conditioned to set our goals and destinations as achievements we want to accomplish. Right, wrong, or indifferent, we're habituated to prioritizing needs of everybody else at the expense of neglecting ours. We have grown to listen to that external voice at the expense of drowning ours. But here's the truth. You are the priority. You are the goal. You, my dear friend, are at the summit. Your authenticity is the highest vision of what you've been waiting to step into. And that's the only thing that matters. Life moves in the direction of your destination. So the universe sent us on this earth with the sole purpose of reaching home and has already equipped us with everything that we need to reach that homecoming journey. Now imagine if you align your life journey with the universe's plan, you would have the advantage of the energy propelling you in that direction. How much tailwind would you get? So choose your destination and watch how things just rearrange themselves to help our journey. Now, having established that reaching home is my destination, you may have two questions. One, what does it even mean to reach home? And two, how does that life journey lead me home? So to reach home is the safest place for us. To reach home is to return to that place where we feel safest, completely unmasked, completely where we can just be ourselves, where truth, peace, authenticity reside. Before all that noise, that clutter, that conditioning, all the roles that we were taught to play. It means remembering the essence, who you are beneath all those expectations, those comparisons, those survival strategies. It's that you that existed before you were told to become somebody else. Homecoming is reclaiming your power. Your worth is no longer dependent on other people's opinions or timelines because you become the author, not the audience of your life. It means living in alignment when our thoughts, words, and actions reflect our values, not somebody else's version of success. We get to choose it. It means finding joy not because of circumstances, but in spite of circumstances. So we don't wait for life to be perfect to feel whole. You find that joy because you're no longer disconnected from yourself. You are joy. So when you connect to yourself, guess what? It automatically connects you to joy. And most importantly, it's creating that safety zone within. So you stop seeking external validation and you start building that emotional safety from inside out. So homecoming is not a destination. It's a remembering. It's a sacred return. It's like a U-turn. It's a spiritual revolution. It's a quiet revolution. So anytime you feel out of place or where you think the sanctity is compromised, you owe it to yourself to recalibrate. When we deviate from the recommended path that Google Maps has chalked out for us, isn't there a voice remind us, please take the next exit or make a U-turn, or somehow it wants us to get back on track? So similarly, we have an inner voice, which is like our GPS. It already can sense when we get off track and keeps telling us to reroute. But how often do we trust that intuitive wisdom? More often than not, we just silence that inner voice and completely ignore it. So you have a choice. Do you want to keep roaming aimlessly or tap into your intuitive wisdom and return home joyfully? So when you start aligning your choices, your actions, your energy, how you show up with that truth, everything changes. And speaking of change, which I've been doing for 30 plus years, yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it will stir up fears, fear of the unknown, fear of judgment, fear of being rejected, fear of not being good enough. But those fears, they're just noise and just that chatter that shows up when you start breaking into a version of you that you were always meant to be. So let it test you. It may break you. Let it crack you open. Because it's through those cracks that the divine light shines in, both as an entry point and as an exit point. Divinity already exists within us. So when you see that light shining through you, it's an expression of that divinity. And at the same time, we also need to let that divine guidance and support, let it enter you through those cracks. Either ways, you're covered. You got this. So stay on track and don't give up and just trust the process. Trust that it will lead you home. So in this episode, we'll explore how to build your roadmap, how to stay focused on that destination, that summit where you've placed yourself, and how to cut out all these distractions that keep you circling around the same mountain. We'll talk about comparison, clarity, consistency, and the sacred act of showing up for yourself. So get your journal, take a deep breath, and let's begin this journey back to you. So let's talk about conscious living. Once you've set your eyes on that summit or the version that you are becoming, your daily choices aren't just habits, they're declarations. Every action takes you either closer to that summit or pulls you further away. There is no neutral ground. So be mindful and ask yourself every moment, is this conversation, the commitment, the scroll, this thought, whatever you're dealing with, is this fueling my vision to reach with my destination, or is it fragmenting it? So living consciously means becoming a vigilant gatekeeper of your energy. It means ruthlessly cutting and discriminating between what's essential and what's noise. And yes, I did say ruthlessly. It's okay to be ruthless because distractions don't always look like chaos. Sometimes they wear the mask of obligations or guilt or just being nice. We've been there. You know what it is. But here's the truth. You don't owe your energy to anything that doesn't honor your direction. You don't owe your time to people who don't respect your clarity. You don't owe your presence to places that make you shrink. This is your life, your journey, your summit. And if you don't protect it, who will? Nobody's going to come stand up for us. We got to stand up for ourselves. Every choice we make is an investment. Whether it's how we spend our time, who we say yes to, or whatever you believe about yourself, the stories you've been telling yourself, it's all shaping the future version of us. So ask yourself, will my future self thank me for this? Because today can either be a deposit towards your growth or a debt that you'll have to pay later. I learned this the hard way when I was 25. I was at crossroads. I had 3 paths in front of me, all promising and all terrifying in their own ways. One of them led to marriage and motherhood. That's safe option. It fit the mold of what girls my age were expected to do. Another path was a career path, which I quite hadn't figured out. And there was a third option, a study abroad option to come to the US, an opportunity that felt way out of reach. Of course, I panicked. I told myself that was impossible. It was too expensive, too complicated, too disruptive. And my mind was doing exactly what minds do the best, trying to keep me small and safe. But my mom saw something bigger, better for me. So she summoned her reinforcements, my sister and her husband, who flew in to Mumbai and showed up at the doorstep one evening. And I was really surprised to see them. And they have a very powerful mantra throughout their life, and I've been using it since then. A simple question they ask themselves, so what? So every fear that I threw at them, what if I fail? What if it's hard? What if I don't belong? What if? I had plenty of what ifs just throwing me off guard. So all those were met with, so what? And that changed everything. Because when you strip away the fear, the excuses, the pressures to perform, what's left is possibility. And that possibility is sacred. I chose the leap. I chose the third option. It was completely unknown. I was the first daughter, the first girl from the family to go overseas for higher education. I chose me. And everything else, that marriage, that career, the kids, everything came in its own time too. Those were beautiful byproducts of a life I chose to expand into and not shrink away from. So if you are standing at the threshold right now, wondering, do I play it safe or follow that quiet, intuitive nudge inside of you? Trust it. That nudge is your roadmap. That discomfort is your invitation. That leap is your homecoming. You were never meant to fit the room. You were meant to light it up. So that moment when I chose to study abroad instead of shrinking into the expected path, it wasn't just about an opportunity. It was about boundaries. I didn't realize then, but it was the first time I said no to a version of life that I didn't feel aligned to. The job that I had at that time wasn't exactly aligned to giving me endless joy. Or that marriage option, it was like completely messed up, but it definitely wasn't aligned to my values. So I said no to all of that, and I said yes to the one that did. Because here's the truth. Every time we say yes to something that drains us, distracts us, or derails us, We're saying no to our own summit, to our own destination. So boundary setting isn't just about protecting your time, it's protecting your trajectory. Warren Buffett once said, the difference between successful people and the really, really successful people is that the really successful people say no to almost everything. Let that sink in. Saying no is a muscle we have to develop, and most of us haven't exercised it enough. We've been conditioned to be agreeable, be available, be accommodating. But conscious living or living awarefully demands something different. It asks us to be vigilant about what's being asked of our energy, our attention, our emotional bandwidth. It asks us to be strategic. And let me be honest, that muscle did not develop overnight. For years, I struggled to say no. I said yes to everything that was asked for because I didn't want to disappoint. I didn't want to be seen as difficult. I didn't want to stir up conflict. So I kept performing, and the reward of good work was more work. And I kept showing up and kept producing, kept giving until I was running on fumes. I had a mentor who saw this early on, and she gently coached me like, look in the mirror and say no. It was very powerful, trust me. It was very powerful just to say, no, I will not do this. But when she wasn't around, I'd go back to my safety zone, go back, default to compliance, saying yes to everything that was thrown my way, because saying no meant facing discomfort, having those hard conversations, risking being misunderstood. And like many of us, I just didn't want to be confrontational. I was a people pleaser, and I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be seen as helpful, and that pattern isn't sustainable. It mushrooms quietly until one day it just erupts. For me, that eruption came during COVID. So much later, after I came to this country, very recently during the COVID time, the burnout was real. I was completely depleted, disoriented, disconnected from myself. And that's when I sought help from an executive coach. And through that work, I realized how far I had drifted away from my own needs, my own roadmap, my own truth. And since then, of course, I've made a radical shift. I've prioritized myself without any guilt. I've put me back on the map. I've learned to say no, not out of defiance, but out of devotion to my purpose. I've learned to set those boundaries that heal. In fact, I even published a course recently, Boundaries That Heal. It was very powerful. It was very therapeutic for me to design that course. So now I recharge my energy, I protect my clarity. I still produce the same amazing work, don't get me wrong, but with so much more joy and so much more intention and so much more energy to serve. I show up unapologetically, I live consciously, and I say no strategically while I say yes wholeheartedly. And I'm so glad I met Vi. I met myself at that threshold after a long, long time. I could have my own Jab We Met version of it. So every time you say yes to something that drains you, you're saying no to something that would have built you. So protect your time, protect your energy, because no isn't rude, it's responsible. So here we are now, standing at the edge of your customized roadmap, not the one built from somebody else's expectations, but the one that places you at the summit. That's the real homecoming. The moment you stop chasing someone else's version of success and start honoring your own. This is your invitation to take self-priority seriously. Stop shrinking to fit the room and start expanding into your full, glorious self. Start listening to that quiet, persistent inner voice, the one that's been guiding you all along, not, by the way, just this lifetime, but eons of lifetimes together. It's been with you all along. So nurture it and let it guide you. Start saying no, not out of fear, but from fierce clarity. Say no to anything that drains you. Say no to those distractions. Say no to those detours that don't serve your direction. Because every time you say no to what's not aligned, you're saying yes to your highest self, your highest version of yourself. You're saying yes to intentional living. You're saying yes to the roadmap that leads you home to your safe zone, your truth, your power. You're not lost. You're not behind. You're not broken. You are exactly where you need to be to begin. The roadmap already exists within you. The tools are already in your hands, but you have to exercise them. You have to use them. You have to sharpen those tools. You have to stop waiting for permission and start walking with intention. Because when you give your power away, when you wait for others to validate your journey, you are outsourcing your own destiny. And let's be real, no one else can see your summit the way you do. So stop asking for directions from people who aren't even climbing. Trust the process. Trust the discomfort. Trust the divine timing. Let those fears come in. Let them crack you open. Let the light pour in and shine out. And then choose progress over perfection. Choose persistence over paralysis. Choose yourself. Because life is a gift and your journey is the offering. So be generous, be bold, be beautiful. You got this. If this episode resonates with you, please like or follow the channel and share it with someone else who may benefit. Leave me a comment or send me an email at maneesha@myatra.vip. And as always, let's close in with a reminder from the Shantipat of this infinite possibilities and the completeness of who you are. You are enough. Om Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. See you next time.